Chapter 18. We get back to my room to find Mac awake and looking a lot better. You go next, Adrienne, I say. She smiles at me and flops onto the bed without saying anything. She puts on the mask and rolls over to face the wall. A minute later, her breathing gets slower and deeper. She's asleep. What happened? Kat asks. I'm assuming it's not good news. I look at Trent. Before I tell you, I want everyone to stay calm. We need to be quiet. We need to think carefully and nobody panic. Spit it out, man, Trent says. What's the beef? Kate, well, the good news is that we found out why the bug eyes are draining the lake. The bad news is it's so they can free the rest of the alien spores and take over the world. Well, we figured it was something like that anyway, Max says, so it's good to have official confirmation. Yeah, Fangs, what's the big deal? When the coach comes tomorrow, we escape, call the police sort it out, we get the credit. Simples. Trent tosses a handful of Star Mix into his mouth. The big deal, I say, and I'm thinking about it, if I say it really quick it won't say so bad, is that the coach driver's a bug eye and the coach is in a murdery sort of barn by the lake, and if we don't stop the bug eyes by sunrise, it's probably going to be too late. Trent swallows the candies whole. It sounds like a dog choking on a chicken carcass. So we're on our own, Katia says. Well, not completely, I say. We got each other. Hell yeah, says Mac. I'd trust you guys with my life over anything else in the world. You are all mental. Trent stopped choking and is knocking back a bottle of Evian water. I'd rather be with a pack of velociraptors than you lot. So what's the plan? Katia asks. Well, we have got to stop the lake from being drained, I say. Mac, do you think there's any way we can break down that dam? The thing with dams, he says, munching on what looks like a bit of twig, is you don't need to break the whole thing down. You just need to make a crack in the right place. So you think it's doable? Well, they put it up in a hurry, so it's structurally not very sound. I think it's definitely doable. But how are we going to get it done with so many bug eyes around, Kat says. There's too many of them. Well, I've got a few ideas, I say, but nothing substantial enough that I feel sure it'll work. I rub my hands through my hair so hard I think I've almost left a bald patch there. I am so tired. It's like nothing I've ever felt before, and I miss my mum. I miss Chets. I feel like the fate of the human race is depending on me, and my brain and body are shutting down. Look, we have got some time, Lance, Kat says. When Adrienne wakes up, you can sleep, and after that I think things will seem better. We'll think of something. I want to believe her, but it all seems too much. I came on this trip to protect Chets, and I failed. I tried to stop everybody from turning into aliens. I failed. I fail at everything. At school, at home, in life. All I want to do is to go to sleep, drift off to a happy place, and forget about it. Look, we wouldn't have got this far without you, Kat says. It's like she's reading my mind. Yeah, we'd have been toast on the first night, says Mac. R.I.P. us. I'd have been fine, Trent says. Kat hits him in the face with a towel. Here, eat a banana, Mac passes one to me. 30 minutes and it's going to be your turn to sleep. And honestly, mate, that 1 hour of sleep is going to make you feel unstoppable. And tomorrow, when we're home, we can all sleep for a week, hey? Kat says. They'll let us have a couple of days off school, right? Somehow the others keep me awake until it's my turn with the CPAP. I feel weird because I never sleep in front of anyone, but there have been a lot of firsts on this trip, so I guess one more won't hurt. And as I put the mask over my nose and mouth, I worry for a second that I'm just too wired to sleep. And the stress and craziness will just keep me awake, worrying, but I only worry for a second. And then I fall into a heavy black cloud where nothing matters except for the steady beat of my heart. I wake to see Katya gazing down at me, the turquoise of her eyes twinkling like a mythical jewel from Asgard or something. How are you feeling, she asks. Better, I say. Part of me wants to let myself slide back into sleep, but I know I've got stuff to do, and the others are counting on me. So I sit up and take off the mask. Now, look, where's that page of notes about the water bears? I've got an idea. Geek robot overlord for next turn. Trent dangles the oxygen mask in his hand. Oh, just shut up and go to sleep. You can have it if you don't want to help, Adrienne says. Well, don't come crying to me later saying I didn't give you a chance then. Trent jumps onto the bed, settles down for another nap. Look, here's the page you wanted, Lance. Katya hands me a crumpled piece of paper. I think it looks more like a hippo than a bear. What do you know about tardigrades, Mac? I say. Well, they're like microscopic tiny. They survive in conditions that no one else can deal with. They can even come back from the dead. They can stand boiling hot, freezing cold, total dehydration, being in space. They eat all sorts of stuff, including bacteria, which is why they can be useful. Do you think it's possible that they could eat alien bacteria? I ask, looking at the creature in the diagram. I guess it's possible, Max says. You could be onto something there. But where are we going to find these water bears, Katya asks. We don't have any access to shops here. Well, they often live in greener, watery places. Another name for them is moss piglets. Remember, just before Dale passed out, he said something about water bears and he had like green slime on him. I say, I reckon there are tardigrades, these water bears, somewhere in the crater somewhere. That's what he was trying to find when he bugged out. The moss! Kat widens her eyes to infinitely poor proportions. There's moss around the edge of the crater. Chet slipped on some on the way in. Maybe the moss has been helping to keep the spores from escaping the crater, Aid says. We look at each other and I'm sure they're all thinking what I'm thinking. This could be the key to stopping the aliens. It's an epic moment, full of possibility and hope. Then Trent farts in his sleep. All right, I say, I have a plan. It's all based on guesswork and assumptions, so there's a high chance of it going wrong. I'm in, says Katya. Me too, says Adrian. Well, of course I'm totally in, Max says, and I hope it involves getting out of this room because if Trent farts again, I feel sick. Right, I jump up. I'm feeling full of energy again. Nothing makes you feel worse than running away and hiding from things. And when you make a decision to face them and fight things, even though it's scary, it's like a dark cloud blows away and everything becomes clear. Empty your backpacks. Except for water and a snack, we are going to go foraging for some moss. What about Trent? Kat says. Should we wake him up? Nah, he made his choice. Leave him here to sleep. 5 minutes later, we're leaving the building, through the back entrance, making our way into the trees. It feels good to be doing something useful, and with my best friends beside me. I only wish Chets was here too. So, we know that there's moss by the main gate, I say. But the main gate's quite risky. They could be watching it. Well, let's start at this side and we could work our way around the crater, Katya says, skipping up the savagely steep slope as though she's on flat ground. The rest of us follow as best as we can, though by the time we see the fence through the trees, we're practically climbing. A few metres before the fence, Kat suddenly stops and wobbles as though she's on the edge of something. Adrian is second in line, but just about manages to grab Kat's backpack and keep her from falling as Mac and I catch up. I see that where Kat and Ada are standing, there is a deep dip in the earth with vertical sides laced with bits of dead root. It's almost like the ground has been ripped out. And on the other side of the ditch, the fence rises ominously. It looks like somebody's dug a trench around the area, says Mac. Do you think it's to stop us getting out? Adrian asks. Katya stands with her hands on her hips, setting the vertical sides of the trench. Well, I think I can climb that, no problem. But I don't think you guys will be able to, no offence. As if anyone could ever be offended by something that Katya says. Well, lucky we're not here to try to climb our way out, I say. But if there was any moss there, the moss is long gone. So, do you think we follow the perimeter around the edge, says Mac. Yeah, I say, maybe the ditch is only across the back of the crater. We trudge on, keeping the ditch on our right. It's strange to see the world outside the fence going on exactly as it did before. Life in the crater, it's like so disconnected. We might as well be on another alien planet. Do you remember when Chets thought there were bandits in the wood, I say, and we all laugh, until we remember that there are nastier things to worry about than bandits now. So I guess Digger hit Dale on the head to try and knock him out, says Aid. That's one way of making someone sleep. Or killing them, says Mac. And after everything he went through, they got him anyway. I can't see Kat's face because she's walking ahead of me, but I know she hates seeing people getting hurt. Since we came across the ditch, it's like everyone's spirits have fallen again. Look, if we can find the moss and fix this, I say, then nothing Dale went through will be wasted. If he hadn't left the notes or scared the butts off us by smearing blood over the coach window, we'd never would have known what we were dealing with. I mean, we've worked some things out for ourselves, but a lot of it is because of his lunatic scribbles. And we won't let his sacrifice be in vain. Katya sniffs. Oh, that was rousing, mate, Max says, and pretends to break down in tears, especially the part about Dale's blood smears. Aid starts giggling and whacks Mac on the arm. No, it was a good speech, Lance. You really should have run for head boy. I'd have voted for you, says Kat. Me too. And Chets, Max says. Yeah, I don't think three votes would have won it for me. But, thanks anyway, guys. Well, if more people had really got to know you, things could have been quite different, Adrian says. We've been in the same class for nearly years. Seen each other nearly every day, but all I knew about you was that your attendance was in the low 80s and you found it hard to concentrate and you don't seem to care about SATs or doing well. And sometimes you get into trouble. You've kept yourself so much to yourself. You've allowed people to think the worst of you. Well, it kind of suited me to be seen as a class idiot. It meant nobody bothered asking questions, I say. I realised I've actually been quite a coward. I took what seemed like the easiest option, the least risky way of getting through, but maybe I was wrong. Look, if people knew about your mum and about all your other difficulties, sure there would be a few jerks like Trent who'd laugh and say horrid things, but, most people would be nice about it, says Aid. You should have given us a chance. Yeah, and I can't believe you didn't tell us, said Katya. We're your best friends, Lance. We know how awesome you are. Hey, we've always kept things to ourselves, buddy. Mac whacks me gently on the back of my shoulder. Even the girls. There's a few seconds of quiet, no sound but footsteps. Yeah, we did both do that too, Aid, says Kat, and then she starts giggling. Are you thinking about that little table in the restaurant, aren't you, Aid says. Yeah, and the rose, Max splutters. I can barely hold the laughter in. Don't forget the candle. We all laugh so hard that we have to stop walking. There's so much going on and things are looking pretty bad right now, as our only plan seems to have been dug up and thrown away. But somehow it just feels amazing to laugh like this with our friends. We give it a few minutes, holding our bellies, falling to the ground. Then Katya snorts and Big Mac starts crying, and we all start laughing all over again. We laugh until we ache, and I know that whatever happens, however this all turns out, this is actually one of the best moments of my life. If I live to be an old man, I'm going to sit at bus stops and tell people about this story, I say. It's never going to stop being funny. We'll all live in the same old people's home, says Kat. We can talk about it when we're doing our knitting. I'm an excellent knitter, Max says. It's one of the life skills my parents taught me. And we all start laughing again. After a water and a wee break, we continue our walk around the crater of doom. The ditch doesn't let up, but we have to keep holding hope that there will be some moss somewhere. It's going to be by the road, I say. They won't have dug it up because they need it for getting in and out. That's where we're going to find the moss. As we approach the only road through the crater, we can see that it is intact. There are guards, Max says. Well, of course there are, I say. No way are they going to make this really hard thing we have to do any easier for us. How many guards are there? Mac crawls forwards for a better look. Just 2, I think. They're Crater Lake guys. Well, they're making sure nobody gets out the gate, I guess, Katya says. What are we going to do? Well, they're only workers. Let's take them out. We'll grab some branches, hit them round the head. Max starts scoping the trees for a suitable weapon. Nah, it's too risky, I say. They're bigger than us, and we won't be able to sneak up on them, so we won't have the element of surprise. Besides, says Aid, remember the aliens have displayed wasp-like tendencies so far. If we attack one of the hive, they'll release a pheromone like a smell, and it'll alert all the others. We're out in the open here. The pheromone will spread really quickly, and then there'll be like a whole swarm of them around. Okay, so we have got to lure them away. And there's only one way I can think of it. I roll my shoulders back, and I do some warm-up stretches. Well, we're not going to use you as bait, says Kat. It's too dangerous. It's the only way, I say. I'll draw them away, and you guys get as much moss as you can. Look, the problem with this plan is that you are quite slow, Adrian says. I'm going to be the bait. I can't ask you to do that, I say. You're not asking, I'm volunteering. It's the option that has the greatest chance of success. I am the fastest, so I'll go. No way, it's not happening. It's so dangerous. The thought of watching Aid run into the jaws of death is too awful for me to deal with. It should be me. Look, this isn't your choice to make, she says. It's not your job to protect everyone all the time. You have to let us take responsibility for ourselves. I'm the fastest, so this makes the most sense. Well, I can see that she's determined, and she's right. It does make the most sense. She is way faster than me, but still. I'll geek robot overlord for you, I say. Did it ever cross your mind that you're not actually helping people by protecting them all the time? She asks. Take Chets, for example. You saved him from the wasp. You got stung. He didn't. And are you scared of wasps now? No, I say. Is Chet still scared of wasps? Yeah, says Mac. Exactly. Sometimes the fear of something happening is worse because you've never experienced it before. Once it's happened to you and you've got through it, you realise it's not so bad. You're saying that Chet's might be less scared of wasps if I'd let them sting him? Well, it's possible, she says. Hey, you are blowing my mind, says Kat. OK, group vote then, Adrian says. Everyone in favour of me luring the bug eyes away from the gate, raise your hands. Kat sticks her hand up with an unhappy look on her face. Adrian glares at Big Mac and he puts his hand up straight too. I give him a look, but he shrugs. She's like a flippin' cheetah, mate. You're more like a ferret or something, to be fair. I win. 3-1, she says. I can do this, trust me. I nod. OK, be careful. Yeah, run fast, Aid. Katya hugs her. And she is gone, running noisily through the trees and onto the road in front of the two bug eyes, where she fake trips and falls to the ground. She looks up, pretends to be surprised when she sees the guards. It's hard to tell what the guards are thinking at this point because their eyes are just like bottomless dark and their faces are expressionless. But it only takes a couple of breaths for them to launch into action and they move towards Aid. She lets them come for a few steps and then she jumps up and darts into the trees on the other side of the road without looking back. Oh, respect, Max says, his eyes all big and gooey. Come on, let's move, I say, and we make for the gate. Oh, there's moss, there's lots of it, Katya says as we get close. We pull our bags off our backs and we start unzipping them as we run. There's no way of knowing how long we'll be before the guards come back or are replaced by some other bug eyes. We reach the mound of moss and we scrape it with our hands and cram it into our backpacks. It's only when we've nearly taken all of it that I look up and notice. The gates are open. We could just leave. The lock must have deactivated when Chets hacked the security system, I say, gently pushing the gate, because I can't quite believe we have a way out right here, right in front of us. One of you should go. It's a long way back to civilization, but you might be able to get us some help. But we need all three of us to carry out the rest of the plan, Katya says. It can't work with two people, especially now that Aid's gone. But they won't know you've gone, I say to Kat. They won't be looking for you out there. It's a chance to get away from this damn crater. We might not get another chance. No, she says. I'm not going. We'll have to find another way. Mac, I turn to him. Like Kat says, we'll find another way. Anyway, I'm not leaving this place without you guys, Adrian and Chets. And if we don't stop the aliens, it won't be any safer out there anyway, says Kat. We look out at the road stretching through the trees away from the crater, away from the bug eyes towards home and our parents and air conditioning. Then we gather up the rest of the moss and race back into the woods towards the centre. We make it back with no sign of Adrienne or any of the bug eyes. We're all quiet, focused. With Adrienne and Chets gone, our group feels small and stuff is starting to get real. Trent is still asleep on the bed when we open the door to my room. Chets is a gross, spitty hunter thing. Adrian is running through the woods being chased by bug eyes. The rest of our class have been body snatched by aliens. And he's just sleeping, Kat says. It's the closest to angry I've ever seen her. Look, it's going to be dark in a couple of hours again, I say, looking at my useless phone. It still has 50% battery. Funny how long a battery lasts when you can't actually use it for anything. We should wake him up and see if he can help. Oh, I'll wake him, Max says, pulling a bottle of water out his bag. Now, as much as I'd like to throw a whole flipping of bucket water over Trent, now is not the time. Gently, Mac. We can't have him suddenly shouting out. Spoil sport, he says, and he walks over to the bed. So what now? Asks Katya. Well, we need to test this moss. We need to see if the tardigrades have any effect on the bug eyes. I've thought about this and there's something I want to try. It's not the most sensible plan I've ever had, and it's possibly the most stupidly dangerous plan I've ever had, but I do want to try. We're going to trap a bug eye and we're going to run some experiments. But what about the pheromones? Max says, sitting down on the floor with us, leaving Trent to whine in the corner about how rude we are to wake him up. If we enclose the bug eye immediately, before he gets a chance to sound the alarm, we should be able to stop the pheromones from reaching the other aliens, I say. You're calling the bug eye him, Kat says. You've already decided who you're going after, haven't you? Yep. We're going to get Chets and we're going to make him human again. You're mental, Trent says. If you're crazy enough to abduct an alien, you should at least go for one of the stupid workers ones. But strategically, this could be a good call, I say. We'd be taking out one of the hunters out of the mix, which is going to be a massive help when we instigate the end game. Chets is the smallest, and he hasn't been turned for as long as the others, so he probably has the least sporiness about him. Yeah, and also he's our best mate, jerkface, Max says, looking at Trent in disgust. If there's any chance we can turn him back, obviously we have got to try. How are you going to turn him back? Trent snorts. Expelliarmus or something. No, we're going to use this moss, says Kat, holding open her backpack for him to see. We think there are tiny creatures called water bears living in it, and that will eat the alien virus. Where's Adrian? He says, looking around like he's just noticed she's not there, which is typical Trent, because he's so self-obsessed. She led the bug eyes away from the gate so we could collect the moss, Max says. Why are there bug eyes at the gate? Surely they know we're not going to be able to climb over, Trent says. And there's all that thorny wire at the top of them. Nobody's going to get out that way. The gates are open, Kat says. What do you mean? The gates aren't locked, so they're having to guard them. Whoa, hold up a bit there, Trent says. Are you saying to me that you were at the gates and the gates were open, the guards were gone, and you didn't try and escape? Look, there are more important things, I say. We are not leaving anyone behind here. I always knew you lot were a bunch of weirdos, but this is a whole new level of idiotness. Trent tucks into a chocolate bar and laughs to himself. We turn away and ignore him. So, how do we get to Chets, Kat says. From the security room, Katya, Big Mac and I have a pretty good view across the lawn to the lake. Pretty much all the bug eyes are out there disappearing into the tunnel they're digging to channel the water from the lake, or operating the generator and the pump. And the lake is visibly shrinking now. We have got to hurry. The hunters seem to have given up combing the woodland for us. Instead, they're circling the site, looking out into the trees, alert for any signs of life. It's like they know that once the lake has been drained, the spores will catch up with us anyway. So they're focusing on the effort of the main act. Now, lucky for us, Digger, Hock and Chets are separate, spaced out around the circumference of the lake. I could be imagining it, or my eyes might have gone nuts due to the lack of sleep, but they are starting to look a bit different to me. Especially Digger. He was like big before, but now he's like grown taller and broader, and he's slightly hunched over, like there's something up his back. He's too far away to see properly, so I put it out of my mind and I laser my thoughts onto our plan. All we have to do is to draw Chets away from him and raise the alarm. Easy, right? So we make our way as stealthily as we can into the trees and through the woods to the area where Chets is guarding. We take our positions. Adrienne still hasn't returned, and Trent's refusing to help us with our suicide mission, so he calls it, so it's just the three of us, but hopefully that is all we're going to need. Mac, who apparently is an expert in imitating bird noises, makes a low whistling noise. It sounds strange in the silence of the woods, The only wildlife we've heard since we got here have been the insects. All the other birds and animals seem to have cleared out. Chet's head jerks up and he scans the tree line. Mac whistles again. Chets moves towards the tree where Mac is hiding. Now this is Cat's signal to move. As Chet stalks closer to Mac's tree, a light thud comes from another tree further in. Cat has played her move perfectly, throwing a rock against a rotten trunk. Nothing too loud, but enough to lure Chets away from Mac's hiding place. When Chets reaches the tree, he finds a sweet wrapper. Not just any sweet wrapper. This is a green Moam stripe, which he knows is my favourite. We gradually move him through the trees, leaving a trail of noises and clues, a bit like Hansel and Gretel style. We try to play it out like it's not deliberate, making some of the breadcrumbs harder to find, like we've tried to conceal them. This game is all about patience. Eventually, we get him into the building and to the kitchen door. Chets doesn't hesitate, throwing the door open and making for the fridge. We've left the fridge door open a crack from where I'm hiding. I see Chet's weird bug face light up as he realises that he has us trapped. He pulls the door open and peers inside. Big Mac and me are inside the fridge. Our backs are against the wall on the other side of the door. Now, I shout. We both grab an arm and pull Chets into the fridge at the same time as Cat slams the door shut from the outside and we lock it. Chet struggles. He starts pulling his head back and making that god-awful gurgling sound. But Mac and I are prepared. We swapped our shorts for trousers and we've put hoodies over our T-shirts. Our hoods are up and tightly around our faces, so only our eyes are exposed. There isn't much of a target for Chets to be able to spit at now. He thrashes around, but we hold tight and we let the cold air work its way into him. With a few minutes, we feel him weaken. He hasn't got his strength when it's cold. Really sorry about this, Chets, I say, as we use our backpack straps to tie his hands together to a metal shelving unit, and then I tie a tea towel around his mouth. I think he's glaring at me, but it's rather hard to tell with those hunter eyes. Well, that went well, Mac says. I knock on the inside of the fridge door and call through. We're okay, Cat. Chets is tied up and, incapacitated. Keep a lookout and we'll holler when we're ready. Well done, guys, she calls back. Say hi to Chets from me. Katya says hi, I say, turning to Chets. Ooh, he makes a noise in his throat that sounds somewhere between a growl, a sort of a I'm going to kill you in his face look. Chet says hi back, I call. Come on, let's get started, Max says, looking like he's thinking what I'm thinking. This bit is not going to be fun. Okay, you're stronger, I say. You hold him. I'll, Chet looks from me to Mac and back again. I think he's scared, which, to be fair, he should be, because we're basically about to torture him. Mac steps behind him and grabs Chet's head. He fights, tries to wriggle out of Mac's grasp, but we don't call him Big Mac for nothing. He is strong and much stronger than Chet's. Chet's extra super alien powers are being counterbalanced by the cold air, which is weakening him too. I rip the tea towel out of Chet's face, and before he can speak or spit, I ram a handful of moss into his mouth. I do it fast so I don't have to see those black pincers, and then I tie the tea towel back around. I'm really sorry, Chets. He chokes and he splutters. I think for a moment we might have to take the gag off and perform the Heimlich manoeuvre to stop him choking completely. Just swallow it, I say. It'll be much better if you swallow it. I look at Mac and I can see he's struggling with this too. I'm glad Kat's not in here. She wouldn't be able to handle this. She gets tears in her eyes when she accidentally steps on a snail. Chet swallows and retches like he's going to be sick, and then he stops. And he slumps to the ground. Not asleep, but in some kind of a daze. Oh, this is the worst thing I've ever done, I say. Same, mate. Mac pulls his hood down. Even though the fridge is super cold, he's sweating, and I realise I am too. What next, he says. I guess we wait. We sit in silence, keeping watch over Chets. Neither of us says it, but I know we're both terrified that we might have killed him or something. Maybe the moss is poisonous to humans. Maybe once someone's bugged out, there's no going back. Now that he's still, I can look at him more closely, and I realise that the changes I thought I saw from a distance are real. Chets is taller. Not a lot, but enough for it to be noticeable. And obviously there's a whole eye thing, but there's also something odd about his skin. It's like starting to flake and peel. It's almost like it's Sunburn. He suddenly twitches, taking us by surprise. I think he's going to attack us, but it's as if he doesn't know we're there. He writhes around, his whole body is unbearably itchy, and he can't scratch it away, and then he starts to choke. Get the towel off, I say, and me and Mac work together to loosen the knot, pull it away from his face and tip him forwards. Chet is choking and his face is turning a funny colour. Not funny in a good way or a waspy way, funny in a close to death way. Max thumps him hard on the back and something flies out of his mouth and pings off the wall on the other side of the room. That didn't look like a spitball, Max says. I run over to the wall and crouch down to examine the missile that flew. It's one of his mouth pincers, I say. Is that a good thing? Max says. Well, it's either a good thing or he's about to die, I say. Panic rushes through my body. Chets, I shake him gently. Snap out of it, buddy. Talk to me. Look at his eyes. Max jiggling around with excitement. The dark centres of Chet's eyes are lightening from a metallic black to a deep brown, and the angry yellow rings are fading. Chets, are you back? I say, feeling that pinch inside my nose that means I could start crying any minute. Lance? Chet says, finally focusing his eyes on me. The sight of those chocolate brown eyes looking at me is too much and a tear leaks out of my eye. It's been ages. What's happening in there? Kat yells through the door. Hey, Katya, Chet calls out. Basically, I ate some magic moss. Made me feel a bit weird, but the good news is I don't think I'm a spalling anymore. Yay! Kat calls. Can I open the door thing then? Yeah, I think it's safe, I say. And I cannot stop smiling.